Entertaining. How entertaining will it be? It would be all of the entertaining. Ha ha ha. Today is Jackson Hole. Welcome, everybody. If you're watching on YouTube, just give me a little thumbs up that everything is actually functioning appropriately, if you don't mind. I've kind of changed some of the resolutions and stuff, which I always feel like is like a really dumb thing to do on a day that, you probably really just shouldn't be messing with settings and stuff. But I did it anyway because I'm like, man, if I ain't doing it last night, I'm never gonna do it. So, so I'm like, it's all right. I'll change the settings to 14. If it actually is 1440, I'm like, I want you all to be blessed with a little bit of a higher resolution, not of me. That would be of Sarah Eisen. That's my goal. My goal was to provide you a slightly better resolution of the Queen of Finance, Sarah Eisen. That's all. That's all. I'm just trying to help out, okay? So that said, hopefully it works. Hopefully there are no issues or lags or tearing or problems or complaints or bitching. I don't want to hear it. But do tell me if there are problems.
It's a moment of magic. A nonprofit supporting vulnerable and underserved children at the NASDAQ, the nation's oldest community bank, Washington Trust, celebrating its 225th anniversary. Not many companies have that beat.
No, I think really just Bank of New York, right? Yes, Alexander Hamilton founded that one. So.
All right. Well. The stock market is open. The casino is open for business. It is Jackson Hole Day. Everybody's been waiting for this day, which means it's coupon expiration day. Is it? People don't like the audio. Oh, okay. It's when I put in these. It's actually very interesting. If I put the AirPods on, y'all don't like the audio apparently. So I don't know. I find that weird. So is the audio better if I take the AirPods off? There must be some kind of like funky interference. So that's all right. I'll go. Other people are saying no. Audio's fine. All right. Well, unless you're talking about the difference between these two audio, there's the sexy audio, and then there's like room tone audio. So you can also let me know, what do you like? You prefer the sexy short audio, thunder from down under, or the room tone audio. We got choices around here. It's kind of cool. Anyway, welcome aboard. I'll just go to the wired mic so I get the non-complainers. Or fewer complaints, I suppose. Did you, by the way, yesterday, I mean, as a follower here of the channel, did you see Tesla's action yesterday? I was so blown away. So look at this. You go over here to Tesla. You know this 318.62 line, right? Look at this. Did you see this right here? Within 6 cents. 6 cents. Like That's awesome. What? I love it. So anyway, Jerome Powell is 28 minutes away. He speaks at 7 a.m. California time this morning. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to get. If we're going to get like D-bag Powell, stick it to Trump. Are we going to get passive Powell? Are we going to get pee-pee. Are we gonna get some form of, knee bend where, we set up the cut, we set up multiple future cuts, and we got a half a pound. We don't know what we're gonna get. It's gonna be really interesting. Kevin Lopez says, hey, Kevin, emailed my video resume last night. Hope it's not too late, even though job was posted 3 weeks ago. Well, what's up, Kevin? My name's Kevin. Kevin Mitch Kevin. Anyway, I personally couldn't be more excited for the day because we've been talking about this coming for a while. And, this could be that kind of opportunity for Powell to ticket to Trump if he wanted to. Well, I don't know, will he? That's going to be interesting. So do we get big? We probably should do a bingo card today. So we'll think about that. We got a little bit of time here I want to see the Open a little bit more, kind of see how things are moving here with the Open. And then we'll probably set up a good old little bingo here. Shout out to all one of you on Facebook and all one of you on Twitch. I don't even know why I bother multi-streaming sometimes. And then shout out to Unable to Connect at Kick. You know, what good is that? So yeah, whatever. Okay, cool. All right, so back to the sticks. We got Palantir down about 80 basis points. We've got Intel up 1.8. Nice movement here to the upside on Intel. This is a big line right here, 23.87. Watch that if you're looking for Intel trades today. You've got the Qs that are green, but we've got really no lines here. You can see how tenuous the market is. Like, it doesn't really know what to do. We've really been setting up so much for this day. Everybody's gotten their coupon code. Everybody's got their Meet Kevin Alpha Report strategy on Jackson Hole with percentage scenarios and, targets and what to listen for. We've got, Tesla trying to get off that 318 line, looking good, but it's all coming down to what gets said today. Let's see. Target's got a little bit of a rebound after their sell-off down under 100. Down under, you've got, Palantir slipping a little bit here. Meta, call it flat. MP Materials, 6.7. You've got Enphase hanging out at the 35 level. You've got, what do we got here? NVIDIA. NVIDIA had a little bit of a curve down, but really, it's and this is the first time in a while we've actually seen this sort of breakdown. 164 is a nice support line though for it, just in case it needs it. So far, it doesn't look like it needs it. 4Weave, on the other hand, literally sitting on my 90.07 line. This is just a basic retrace here, folks. Basic retracement here, and it's been resting here now for about 3 or 4 days, right at that 90 level. Critical threshold, because maybe we'll be able to bounce off of it, maybe not. Usually these what appear to be pricier stocks are a little harder to get a second wave of momentum, unlike something like an Open Door where the stock looks cheap, right? Because it's like $3. Then you've got bullish over here. Actually, had a couple days of green there, which is somewhat shocking after hold on, let me unaverage this for a moment. Unaverage, couple two, 3 days, definitely 2, and now trying to recover a little bit. Gotta get some volume. Barcoding in the pre-market, not really suggestive of a lot of volume at this puppy, but that's all right. Jay Powell speaks now in 23 minutes. Drusen says audio choppy. Really? I got no choppy on my audio. I got awesome on my audio. So let's see, what else do we have? We've got okay, let's listen to Sarah for a moment. Let's see what they're up to.
The XLK, so the S&P tech sector ETF is...
Oh, they're just talking about somebody who's going to come talk. Okay, that's boring. All right, no problem. We can switch it up over here a little bit. Let's see what we got over here.
I think on sale, you need to take advantage. Now it's up, 1.5 or 1.2% today, but it's down 10% off of its, June. I think it's the June high.
Great stuff. Kenny Polcari, you're the best. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Have a nice weekend.
You too. Enjoy. Eat well. Coming up, the Texas state legislature approved its redistricting map, and California Governor Gavin Newsom, just no other way to describe it but a meltdown. Watch.
This is radical rigging of a midterm election. We're fighting fire with fire, and we're going to punch these sons of in the mouth.
Fire with fire.
I think...
choose a new...
I think people or Newsom's under the impression that the angrier he is, the better it might end up being for his ability to get attention on the national stage. That seems to be what's going on.
I think
Germany may stagnate in 2025. It hasn't already.
I think the bar is high. And so it needs a lot to convince me to change monetary policy.
The day after Russia invaded Ukraine, I had the honor of David Folkert's Landau on, and he was absolutely brilliant in predicting the fiscal expansion, the unleashing of a fiscal impulse across Europe. You're providing leadership on that. Is there a new...
Yeah, I mean, if you start running the money printer in Europe, that's basically what they're saying when they say, oh, unleashing a fiscal impulse. Yeah, like, why are we using euphemisms here? Like, just call it what it is. Just, you know, make it clear. We're talking about money printing here. And when we print money and blow money, you can borrow it fiscally, you know, pretend to pay it back one day, and there we go. We have the fiscal money printer going.
The unprovoked war of aggression against Ukraine did a lot of harm to us. I think, first of all, this war has to be stopped. And then I can give you maybe my interpretation of the current situation. Yes, you can say, well, this was an eye-opener for Germany, for the whole European Union. And we should take every step that is necessary to become more competitive.
Do you see, this is so important, I have to interrupt. Do you see a new German political regime led by Mr. Merz, or there'll be a new impulse by Germany to say to Russia, stop?
I think Friedrich Merz, the new chancellor, he did it right over the past couple of months since he is in office. So he did a lot of reforms. I think he put the right things into the cupboard and said, well, we have to improve on all the structural issues. And I guess it was the right policy up till now. But now
somebody in the chat says legal counterfeiting. I mean, honestly, it kind of is to some extent, right? So, all right, whatever. Let's get back over to the sticky wicks. So how's McDonald's doing? 315. It's all right. Q's coming up a little bit. Very nice. Let's average out these candlesticks, smooth this out a little bit. There we go. Q's are looking for a bullish Powell here. So people are setting up for a little bit of enthusiasm, which is good. Happiness. Let's get the happy mug out. Here's our happy mug for good old Powell. See that? Like, that should just be Powell's face today. Hey guys, we're gonna cut rates. So we're gonna do at least 25, and then we'll go from there. That'd be nice. Oh, I should also pull up how we're doing in terms of percentage for expectations on rate cuts. Meta just went positive. Him still struggling a little bit, under 44, sitting at 43. But Target's got a little bit of a rebound here. Walmart 0.5%. Airbnb's up. Biquity beats on earnings. They're doing well. Let's go. Let's see here. Okay. So we're going to pull up what the futures market is betting right now on rate cuts. I'm curious, yesterday we ended around a 74% chance of a policy adjustment in September. Obviously, this number is going to fluctuate heavily based on what Jay Powell says today. So, buckle up, basically. Okay. Let's go scan on in. All right, here we go. Let's see what it says. It's kind of exciting. I love these days. 18 minutes to go until Powell speaks. And let's go pop in, and then I'll pull up a bingo board for Jackson Hole. So, yeah, we're only at a 72% chance of a cut right now. 72% chance. Now, if Powell, eradicates that down to 0, the market's going to be pissed. So you'll have a big adjustment there. So hopefully he just gives us our cut, and we take it from there. All right, let's see here. Let's get the bingo board. Bingo board. Let's see here. All right. I'm going to airdrop that over. And then once we have our bingo board, we're going to get to work on it. And we'll watch the 6 at the same time. There we go, bingo board. Also, I found yet another purpose that I think is, like, it's kind of getting ridiculous how useful I'm finding these, you know, like the glasses with cameras in them. I feel like I'm just like always shielding them, and it doesn't have to be that way. You know, I'm not sponsored by Meta. I honestly don't really even care that it's Meta because the Meta AI sucks. But I found another use yesterday, and it was basically if I'm hopping up into an attic, doing a quick little, you know, peek into an attic and shining a light and not having to sit there and like video with my phone. Instead, I could just like hold on and video, and like I could quickly find a hole in these asbestos ducts right here. Like, the quality doesn't have to be great, it just has to be enough for me to reference, oh look, here's a house with asbestos ducts and a hole in them, and you can see that hole clear as day in case you've never seen a hole in a duct. That's what a hole in a duct looks like. And yeah, it's kind of cool. This is not a property that we own. It's just a property I was looking at. But it's interesting because it's like, this is another cool use of the Meta glasses. Anyway, market continues to be enthusiastic here following the sell-offs that we had basically Monday through mostly Thursday. Unsurprising as well. You know, oftentimes people see the market as setting up for the Catalyst event. And then once you're set up for the Catalyst event, like even yesterday, things relaxed a little bit on the Qs. You know, we're green for some period of the Qs yesterday, and then, you know, now we're getting some enthusiasm into it. It's sort of like, you know, the pre-hedging, the hedges have been set up, the trimming has been done. Now people are like, all right, I did my trimming. You know, what am I going to want to buy if Powell's nice to us? And yeah, here we go. Somebody says the 360 camera is better for that. How? How do you figure the 360 camera is better? Like, I'm holding on to a ladder and a flashlight. Well, the phone in this case is the flashlight. But also like half using the flashlight hand to hold on. And then I could just look around with my head and be the camera. I don't see how a 360, like having another object for 360 here. Unless you're just talking about sticking it all the way up in a stick. You know, but I want to see it with my own eyes too. So, okay, somebody says Trump talks at 12. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if you got Trump talking right after Powell. Nice watching you on TikTok as I can listen while my phone's locked without having YouTube Premium. Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. Yeah, I always wonder, like, why do people watch on TikTok horizontally? And I don't even know where you find it, but apparently TikTok promotes these horizontal videos. And all right, I guess we'll click stream there too. All right, this person says, I don't see Powell promising a September cut.
Because everybody waits for that key speech in about 14 minutes' time. We will hear from Fed Chair Jay Powell here in Wyoming. This is Bloomberg surveillance on television and radio. As we count you down to that speech, we do see in markets a sense of calm after 5 straight days of losses, after a lot of gains, Tom. We've had a big market gain this year. We did see we saw a pause, an August pause, 5 days of losses, and now we're up about 0.5% on the S&P and seeing yields come in just slightly.
I take umbrage. We've forgotten what a correction is. We've forgotten what a bear market is, and we've
forgotten what a correction is. Oh no, we know what a correction is. It's really no major caddies right now for bearishness, and hopefully Jerome Powell isn't that. Again, 72% chance right now of a rate cut. And so let's write down some items on the bingo board, shall we? So let's go throw a freebie up here Powell on time. That'll be our freebie. I don't know about you, but I feel like that text needs to be center. There we go. Center justified. All right. Let's go bad, you know. This would be things like persistent inflation, and then unanchoring of expectations, inflation coming, you know, inflation resurging, inflation leaving imported goods and spreading, right? These things would all be bad. On the good side, we would have strong labor, strong labor market, resilient economy, inflation under control, inflation on its way back to 2%. Let's go with no indications of recession, and TBD here some more. Central bank independence. He'll talk about this. Very important. Central bank there. Okay. Another thing that we might hear about would be fate. You know, fate. So flexible average inflation targeting. This would be very. I'll put this on the bullish side. If they bring it back. If back, it's bullish, right? Like, oh, we seek to get to an average. Like, I've always mentioned that one thing that Trump or Powell could do is he could bring the fate hat, you know, back, like out of the bunny hat. Yeah, that would be extremely bullish, by the way, if they did. If they brought that back, man, that would be huge. That would be mega bullish. If they did that. So that's going to be something to pay attention to. Trying to think. Yeah, I would actually call that mega bullish. I don't know that he will. You know, if he kills fate, if killed bearish, right? Fate gets axed. Okay, so that'll be on our like more bearish side. Let's try Big Beautiful Bill is somewhat stimulative, all right? Financial conditions loose. These are all positive things. And another thing that would be bullish over here would be transitory tariff impacts. These are all bullish things. Bullish also would be participation rate declining due to immigration and may stay low, right? The second part is also important because if you get a big rebound in the participation rate, you would end up with problems as well. Yeah, I don't think he'll comment about a successor. I don't think he'll comment about Cook. I guess I could throw that on the bingo board as sort of like a negative, right? Like, I don't think he will. I guess that works. We could do that. Because he'll just punt those especially for Jackson Hole, like that's like bringing drama to an international meeting, and he's not going to do that. So I'm going to go no mention of Cook, Lisa Cook, and he won't mention successor, no mention of successor. Well, I mean, he might say something like, unless it's, setting up a strong or a low inflation regime for my successor, right? Basically, like setting them up for success. Otherwise, I don't think he'll really get into it. So that I could see a little bit of a comment on. Let's see here. Close the effing door. Yeah, that was fun. So, building renovation. No mention of building renovation. These will be sort of like our negatives over here. All right, a few more things to fill in. Put some thought into them. Give me some comments. Let's listen to here for a moment.
In that data right now. And so, yeah, you have to take that data seriously. And you have to be careful not to make anecdotes data, right? But you do need to listen to what people are saying. And people right now are sitting on their hands. What I'm hearing from lots of people is, I need to let some of this uncertainty. Now, the only exception to that are data centers, right? It's roaring ahead. The only problem is we don't have enough power to power these data centers. But there are areas of the economy that are growing, but a lot of people are just waiting.
Can I note here, Mike wants to get a question in. The temperature's dropped since we started live.
Oh, it feels warmer
It's gone
than usual.
43
I'm
to...
not complaining.
Do we expect snow today?
Oh, my gosh. It is actually warmer than usual.
Tom is now an outdoorsman.
Yeah.
42
You
degrees.
can see Pat sitting there just in his sport coat.
Yeah,
He's
understatement
fine.
of the
We're
year.
all
Carry
fine.
on.
I want to ask you about the framework review, which is something that Mr. Powell is likely to talk about today. What's the most important change that they are likely to make?
If you read the framework review, it was written in a period where we thought interest rates were going to be zero or low forever, right? And inflation was going to be under 2%. And so there was that color to the previous review. That's all going to be taken out, obviously. And I hope I haven't seen the final, right? But I hope that they then emphasize more a balanced approach and more principles as opposed to tactics. Right? We don't need to get into the details of the tactics. That's what the committee does. They need to reassert the principles of the dual mandate.
Well, going forward, under whatever new framework they have, do you think they can eliminate some of the risk that we saw coming into 2020 when Jay Powell here unveiled the last framework, which less than a year later was being jumped?
All right. I got the other items. So I did, I said under the bad column, a hike is just as possible as a cut. I put purple tie here. I put we could afford to be patient, luxury of time. These are just sort of like quotes I thought we could kind of use. What else did I add? I think that was it. A focus on inflation and jobs, no other mandates. This is basically a way of saying like we're not going to focus on climate change or, other like political priorities or politicized priorities. We're just going to focus on jobs and inflation. That's somewhat my take there. So yeah, I mean this is it. This is our bingo board going in. Keep in mind that today is in honor of Jackson Hole, the coupon code expiration for J-Hole. Remember that every day before the market is open, you get an alpha report every day before the market opens up, where we discuss the strategy of the day. Hey, here are the lines to watch. Here are potential trade ideas. Here, are fundamental analyses on stocks or earnings or on real estate, or I answer your property management questions. It's really a great group of people because there are a lot of folks who are really trying to look at, hey, what can we do to save money on taxes? What can we do to make money in real estate? What can we do to make money in stocks? Everybody's got the same mindset, which is really cool. It's a great group of folks because everybody shows up, just wants to make some money, And cool thing about the group too is it's a tax write-off for you to join. So, you know, should you join? Well, I mean, I shouldn't guarantee it. For most people, it should be a tax write-off for you to join. But, you know, confirm that with your CPA. I don't know your personal situation, so verify that. But, yeah, you got a little bit of that enthusiasm on the Qs selling down here, with the exception of on Tesla. Yeah, Tesla also a little bit. I mean, here comes that nervousness, right? Remember, we're about 1 minute away now. Remember, you've got Powell, who is going into this day with Jackson Hole rate cut expectations for September at 72% before the meeting. All right? Okay, we got our bingo board. Let me just double check those rate cut expectations exactly here. And let's see. Yeah, exactly 72% right now, Chance. Okay, not a surprise. And then let's make sure we have Jackson Hole ready to stream. Should be any minute now that Jerome Powell is going to show up, which is very exciting. And here is, yeah, we've got a few different stream options for watching this. Let's see if they're playing music. Nope. Okay, fine. Cool. All right, this is exciting. Here we go. Oh man. All right, Powie Wowie. Oh, okay, here. It looks like they just had a statement. Labor market is in curious kind of balance. What? Who says that? Labor market is in curious kind of balance. Powell, labor supply is softened in line with demand. So he's not speaking yet. This is his speech that was just released. Slowdown in jobs growth has not opened up a large margin of the labor market, which we want to avoid. Slowdown in job growth has not opened up. Okay, that's good. Let's see what else. Dude, oh my gosh. Okay. Unanimously adopts a framework calling for, whoa! Adopts new policy framework of flexible average inflation targeting. No way. New fate adopted. That's really bullish. Holy crap. That's so bullish. Balanced approach. Prior framework's emphasis overly specific on economic conditions may have led to some confusion. Holy moly. This is the idea of intentionally moderate inflation, overshoot, okay, new framework designed to work in a range of economic conditions. New framework to work in a range of conditions. Okay, that's very, very bullish. Okay. Act forcefully to ensure longer-term inflation expectations remain anchored. Okay, that's interesting. Act forcefully to ensure longer-term expectations anchored. So he's not speaking yet, but he did release this speech. It's not technically not his event either, so maybe we should just have the bingo board be like, you know, he shows up. But Fed still believes it may not need to tighten policy solely based on uncertain estimates that employment may be beyond its maximum sustainable. It may not need to tighten policy. Okay, Fed believes it may not need to tighten more. That's good. Should preemptive action could be necessary if tight labor market leads, you know, to wage price inflation. Okay, that's interesting. Sure, let's see here. Preemptive action, like, okay. Jackson Hole's speech says shifting balance of risk may warrant adjusting policy. Okay, here we go. Are they actually going to play now? Is he showing up?
In my remarks today, I will first address the current economic situation and the near-term outlook
New
for
fate
monetary
is huge.
policy. I will then turn to the results of our second public review of our monetary policy framework as captured in the revised Statement on Longer Run Goals and Monetary Policy Strategy that we released today. When I appeared at this podium 1 year ago, the economy was at an inflection point. Our policy rate had stood at 5.25% to 5.5% for more than a year. that restrictive policy stance was appropriate to help bring down inflation and to foster a sustainable balance between aggregate demand and supply. Inflation had moved much closer to our objective, and the labor market had cooled from its formerly overheated state. Upside risks to inflation had diminished, but the unemployment rate had increased by almost a full percentage point, a development that historically has not occurred outside of recessions. Over the subsequent 3 Federal Open Market Committee meetings, we recalibrated our policy stance, setting the stage for the labor market to remain in balance near maximum employment over the past year. This year, the economy has faced new challenges. Significantly higher tariffs across our trading partners are remaking the global trading system. Tighter immigration policy has led to an abrupt slowdown in labor force growth. Over the longer run, changes in tax, spending, and regulatory policies may also have important implications for economic growth and productivity. There is significant uncertainty about where all of these policies will eventually settle and what their lasting effects on the economy will be. Changes in trade and immigration policies are affecting both demand and supply. In this environment, distinguishing cyclical developments from trend or structural developments is difficult. This distinction is critical because monetary policy can work to stabilize cyclical fluctuations, but can do little to alter.
This is really bullish. I just read more notes. Unlikely tariff inflation will cause persistent inflation. Huge. Like this is really bullish, actually.
Showed that payroll job growth slowed to an average pace of only 35,000 per month over the past 3 months, down from 168,000 per month during 2024. This slowdown is much larger than assessed just a month ago, as the earlier figures for May and June were revised down substantially. But it does not appear that the slowdown in job growth has opened up a large margin of slack in the labor market, an outcome we want to avoid. The unemployment rate, while edging up in July, stands at a historically low level of 4.2%, and has been broadly stable over the past year. Other indicators of labor market conditions are also little changed or have softened only modestly, including quits, layoffs, the ratio of vacancies to unemployment, and nominal wage growth. Labor supply has softened in line with demand, sharply lowering the break-even rate of job creation needed to hold the unemployment rate constant. Indeed, labor force growth has slowed considerably this year with the sharp fall-off in immigration, and the labor force participation rate has edged down in recent months.
Yes.
Overall, while the labor market appears to be in balance, it is a curious kind of balance that results from a marked slowing in both the supply of and demand for workers. This unusual situation suggests that downside risks to employment are rising. And if those risks materialize, they can do so quickly in the form of sharply higher layoffs and rising unemployment. At the same time, GDP growth has slowed notably in the first half of this year to a pace of 1.2%, roughly half the 2.5% pace in 2024. The decline in growth has largely reflected a slowdown in consumer spending. As with the labor market, some of the slowing in GDP likely reflects slower growth of supply or potential output. Turning to inflation, higher tariffs have begun to push up prices in some categories of goods. Estimates based on the latest available data indicate that total PCE prices rose 2.6% over the 12 months ending in July. Excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices rose 2.9%, above their level of a year ago. Within core, prices of goods increased 1.1% over the past 12 months, a notable shift from the modest decline seen over the course of 2024. In contrast, housing services inflation remains on a downward trend, and non-housing services inflation is still running at a level a bit above what has been historically consistent with a 2% inflation. The effects of tariffs on consumer prices are now clearly visible. We expect those effects to accumulate over coming months, with high uncertainty about both timing and amounts. The question that matters for monetary policy is whether these price increases are likely to materially raise the risk of an ongoing inflation problem. A reasonable base case is that the effects will be relatively short-lived, a one-time shift in the price level. Of course, One time does not mean all at once. It will continue to take time for tariff increases to work their way through supply chains and distribution networks.
Super bullish,
Moreover,
man.
Tariff rates continue to evolve, potentially prolonging the adjustment process. It's also possible, however, that the upward pressure on prices from tariffs could spur a more lasting inflation dynamic.
Right,
and
but
that
not their
is a
base
risk
case.
to be assessed and managed. One
So he's
possibility
kicking the
is
can
that
down the
workers
road on
who
high
see their
inflation.
real incomes decline because of higher prices.
Bullish.
Demand and get higher wages from employers, setting off adverse wage price dynamics.
We're not going to have a wage price spiral.
Given that the labor market is not particularly tight and faces increasing downside risks, that outcome does not seem likely. Another possibility is that inflation expectations could move up, dragging actual inflation with them. Inflation has been above our target for more than 4 years and remains a prominent concern for households and businesses. Measures of longer-term inflation expectations, however, as reflected in market and survey-based measures, appear to remain well anchored and consistent with our longer-run inflation objective of 2%. Of course, we cannot take the stability of inflation expectations for granted. Come what may, we will not allow a one-time increase in the price level to become an ongoing inflation problem. So, putting the pieces together, what are the implications for monetary policy?
Cut 25.
In the near term, risks to inflation are tilted to the upside and risks to employment to the downside, a challenging situation. When our goals are in tension like this, our framework calls for us to balance both sides of our dual mandate. Our policy rate is now 100 basis points closer to neutral than it was a year ago, and the stability of the unemployment rate and other labor market measures allows us to proceed carefully as we consider changes to our policy stance. Nonetheless, with policy in restrictive territory, the baseline outlook and the shifting balance of risks may warrant adjusting our policy stance. Monetary policy is not on a preset course. FOMC members will make these decisions based solely on their assessment of the data
September will be
and
live.
its implications for the
But it's
economic
bullish.
outlook and the balance of risks. We will never deviate from that approach. So, turning then to my second topic. Our monetary policy framework is built on the unchanging foundation of our mandate from Congress to foster maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. We remain fully committed to fulfilling our statutory mandate, and the revisions to our framework will support that mission across a broad range of economic conditions. Our revised statement on longer-run goals and monetary policy strategy, which we refer to as our consensus statement to save time, describes how we pursue our dual mandate goals. It is designed to give the public a clear sense of how we think about monetary policy, and that understanding is important both for transparency and accountability, and for making monetary policy more effective. The changes we made in this review are a natural progression grounded in our ever-evolving understanding of our economy. We continue to build upon the initial consensus statement adopted in 2012 under Chairman Ben Bernanke's leadership. Today's revised statement is the outcome of the second public review of our framework, which we conduct at 5-year intervals. This year's review included 3 elements: Fed Listens events at reserve banks around the country, a flagship research conference, and policymaker discussions and deliberations supported by staff analysis at a series of FOMC meetings. In approaching this year's review, a key objective has been to make sure that our framework is suitable across a broad range of economic conditions. At the same time, the framework needs to evolve with changes in the structure of the economy and our understanding of those changes.
One of my first big 1 out of 10 buys for the next 10 years to buy and hold in the Alpha report, up 7% right now after this. Let's freaking go.
At the time,
make sure you're part of that Alpha report. Coupon code JHOLE expires today. Big price increase.
Proximity of interest rates to the effective lower bound, or ELB, along with low growth, low inflation, and a very flat Phillips curve, meaning that inflation was not very responsive to slack in the economy. To me, a statistic that captures that era is that our policy rate was stuck at the ELB for 7 long years following the onset of the global financial crisis in late 2008. Many here will recall the sluggish growth and painfully slow recovery of that era. it appeared highly likely that if the economy experienced even a mild downturn, our policy rate would be back at the ELB very quickly, probably for another extended period. Inflation and inflation expectations could then decline in a weak economy, raising real interest rates as nominal rates were pinned near zero. Higher real rates would further weigh on job growth and reinforce the downward pressure on inflation and inflation expectations, triggering an adverse dynamic. The economic conditions that brought the policy rate to the ELB and drove the 2020 framework changes were thought to be rooted in slow-moving global factors that would persist for an extended period. And they might well have done so, if not for the pandemic. The 2020 consensus statement included several features that addressed the ELB-related risks that had become increasingly prominent over the preceding 2 decades. We emphasized the importance of anchored inflation, longer-term inflation expectations to support both our price stability and maximum employment goals. Drawing on an extensive literature on strategies to mitigate risks associated with the ELB, we adopted flexible average inflation targeting.
Here it is,
a makeup strategy to ensure that inflation expectations would remain well anchored, even with the ELB constraint. In particular, we said that following periods when inflation had been running persistently above 2%, appropriate monetary policy would likely aim to achieve inflation moderately above 2% for some time. In the event, rather than low inflation in the ELB, the post-pandemic reopening brought the highest inflation in 40 years to economies around the world. Like most other central banks and private sector analysts, through year-end 2021, we thought that inflation would subside fairly quickly without a sharp tightening in our policy stance, as this slide will show. When it became clear this was not the case, we responded forcefully, raising our policy rate by 5.25 percentage points over 16 months. That action, combined with the unwinding of pandemic supply disruptions, contributed to inflation moving much closer to our target without the painful rise in unemployment that has accompanied previous efforts to counter high inflation.
Yep.
This year's review considered how economic conditions have evolved over the past 5 years. During this period, we saw that the inflation situation can change rapidly in the face of large shocks. In addition, interest rates are now substantially higher than was the case during the era between the global financial crisis and the pandemic. With inflation above target, our policy rate is restrictive, modestly so in my view. We cannot say for certain where rates will settle out over the longer run, but their neutral rate may now be higher than during the 2010s, reflecting changes in productivity, demographics, fiscal policy, and other factors that affect the balance between saving and investment. During the review, we discussed how the 2020 statement's focus on the ELB may have complicated communications about our response to high inflation. We concluded that the emphasis on an overly specific set of economic conditions may have led to some confusion, and as a result, we made several important changes to the consensus statement to reflect that insight. First, we removed language indicating that the ELB was a defining feature of the economic landscape. Instead, we noted that our monetary policy strategy is designed to promote maximum employment and stable.
Trump just said he's going to fire Cook if she doesn't resign. And by the way, there's now an 89% chance of a cut in September. Really bullish. I talked about mega cap and Tesla and everything taken off. It's exactly what's happening.
Of tools to achieve
in the Alpha report this morning
and price stability goals, particularly if the federal funds rate is constrained by the ELB. Second, we returned to a framework of flexible inflation targeting and eliminated the makeup strategy. As it turned out, the idea of an intentional moderate inflation overshoot had proved irrelevant. There was nothing intentional or moderate about the inflation that arrived a few months after we announced our 2020 changes to the consensus statement, as I acknowledged publicly in 2021. Well-anchored inflation expectations were critical to our success in bringing down inflation without a sharp increase in unemployment. Anchored expectations promote the return of inflation to target when adverse shocks drive inflation higher and limit the risk of deflation when the economy weakens. Further, they allow monetary policy to support maximum employment in economic downturns without compromising price stability. Our revised statement emphasizes our commitment to act forcefully to ensure that longer-term inflation expectations remain well anchored to the benefit of both sides of our dual mandate. It also notes that price stability is essential for a sound and stable economy and supports the well-being of all Americans. This theme came through loud and clear at our Fed Listens events. The past 5 years have been a painful reminder of the hardship that high inflation imposes, especially on those least able to meet the higher costs of necessities. Third, our 2020 statement said that we would mitigate shortfalls rather than deviations from maximum employment. The use of shortfalls reflected the insight that our real-time assessments of the natural rate of unemployment, and hence of maximum employment, are highly uncertain. The later years of the post-global financial crisis recovery featured employment running for an extended period above mainstream estimates of its sustainable level, along with inflation running persistently below our 2% target. In the absence of inflationary pressures, it might not be necessary to tighten policy based solely on uncertain real-time estimates of the natural rate of unemployment. We still have that view, but our use of the term shortfalls was not always interpreted as intended, raising communications challenges. In particular, the use of shortfalls was not intended as a commitment to permanently forswear preemption or to ignore labor market tightness. Accordingly, we removed shortfalls from our statement. Instead, the revised document now states more precisely that the committee recognizes that employment may run at times above real-time assessments of maximum employment without necessarily creating risks to price stability. Of course, preemptive action would likely be warranted if tightness in the labor market or other factors pose risks to price stability. The revised statement also notes that maximum employment is the highest level of employment that can be achieved on a sustained basis in a context of price stability. This focus on promoting a strong labor market underscores the principle that durably achieving maximum employment fosters broad-based economic opportunities and benefits for all Americans.
That's not a concern with AI, honestly. They're not. He's basically saying, hey, if we need to hike because of wage price spirals, we're willing to do it preemptively. That ain't gonna freaking happen with AI, man.
Consistent with the removal of shortfalls, we made changes to clarify our approach in periods where our employment and inflation objectives are not complementary.
Okay, this is important.
In those circumstances, we will follow a balanced approach in promoting them. The revised statement now more closely aligns with the original 2012 language. We take into account the extent of departures from our goals and the potentially different time horizons over which each is projected to return to a level consistent with our dual mandate. These principles guide our policy decisions today, as they did in the 2022 to 24 period, when the departure from our 2% inflation target was the overriding concern. In addition to these changes, there is a great deal of continuity with past statements. The document continues to explain how we interpret the mandate Congress has given us and describes the policy framework that we believe will best promote maximum employment and price stability. We continue to believe that monetary policy must be forward-looking and consider the lags in its effects on the economy. For this reason, our policy actions depend on the economic outlook and the balance of risks to that outlook. We continue to believe that setting a numerical goal for employment is unwise because the maximum level of employment is not directly measurable and changes over time for reasons unrelated to monetary policy. We also continue to view a longer-run inflation rate of 2% as most consistent with our dual mandate goals. We believe that our commitment to this target is a key factor, helping keep longer-term inflation expectations well anchored. Experience has shown that 2% inflation is low enough to ensure that inflation is not a concern in household and business decision-making, while also providing a central bank with some policy flexibility to provide accommodation during economic downturns. Finally, the revised consensus statement retained our commitment to conduct a public review roughly every 5 years. There's nothing magic about the 5-year pace. That frequency allows policymakers to reassess structural features of the economy and to engage with the public, practitioners, and academics on the performance of our framework. It is also consistent with several global peers. To wrap up, I want to thank President Schmid and all of his great Kansas City staff who worked so diligently to host this
We'll do a full
event
summary here. There's a
annually,
lot to talk about.
Counting a couple of virtual appearances during the pandemic. This is the 8th time I've had the honor to speak from this podium. Each
Wow.
year, this
This is
symposium
last.
offers the opportunity for Fed leaders to hear
This is
ideas
last
from
time.
leading economic thinkers and focus on
No.
the challenges we face. The
Sad.
Kansas City Fed was very wise to lure Chair Volcker here to this national park more than 40 years ago, and I am so proud to be part of that tradition. Thank you very much.
I don't know if we do like a Q&A or something here. I don't think
The
so.
last Jackson Hole for Fed Chair Jay Powell.
Okay, wow. That's it. Wow. Okay, we're going to do a complete sum. Listen, just like really quickly, bullish, okay? I love this. I think this was great. We basically brought back flexible average inflation targeting. Now, there are a lot of details to this in terms of like the warnings or like what this means or, you know, how, like what's next here. But yeah, I'm going to explain all of that. We basically, this is the most bullish case scenario. This is like a full-on knee bend for a rate cut in September. I mentioned this morning in the Alpha report that would be really good for mega caps that sold off at the beginning of the week, which is very common. You sell off at the beginning of the event, at the week, and then the event happens, and then it's not that big of a deal, and then everything comes back. Killed it. So if you're not part of that Meet Kevin membership, remember to join that. Yeah, you know, the coupon code JHOLE expires today. We'll have a big price increase. And remember, it could be a tax write-off for you as well. Okay, let's go get the full summary here because holy smokers, there's a lot. But this is good because it actually really gives us good clarity for, I think, honestly, like the next 5 years here. So somebody here says, watched every Fed meeting with Kevin since 2020. Oh, damn. Let's go. That's freaking awesome. All right, we're going to do a recap here in just a moment. TikTok says we've detected inactivity. Please do this puzzle piece. Why does it do that? You know, when I'm streaming, unable to verify. Oh, I didn't do the puzzle piece correctly. Like, come on, TikTok. Why? Trying to do my job here, people. Can't you use AI to see I'm here and I'm alive? It's crazy. All right. Let's go through this because this is crazy. All right. Well, the Jackson Hole meeting just happened, and Jay Powell did it. He literally reached into the magic hat and pulled out, I can't believe it, flexible average inflation targeting. This is literally the most bullish thing that you could hope for. It is a full-on knee bend for a 25 basis point cut. Honestly, it could even reset up a 50 basis point cut in September. Why would they bring up flexible average inflation targeting again? Because Powell clearly told us that the latest jobs data that we've gotten, which is 3 months of jobs data, mind you, right? It's not just one report. It's 3 months of bad job data because of the revisions, right? His words, payroll growth's slowdown is, quote, much larger than we assessed a month ago. Jerome Powell freaking out here over that, and he's sending you that signal of a freak out by saying, hey, we're bringing flexible average inflation targeting back out of the bag. Now, in case you don't remember what fate is, you handed me food. You want to come say hi, buddy? Today's Jackson Hole Day. It's coupon expiration day as well. It's right there. Coupon code Jackson Hole. That means people can join the Meet Kevin membership. Pay once, lifetime access. Might even get yourself some tax deductions by writing it off. Talk to your CPA. But anyway, no, we got to get into thank you for this. I'll eat this. Have fun at school. See you, buddy. All right. So this is really important because it's so crazy. Back in 2022, I said, I think we're going to have a Nike swoosh recovery and we'll have some kind of like euphoric bubble at the end. Who knows where we are in that cycle. It's certainly had one hell of a Nike swoosh recovery. But one of the things I mentioned was the nail in the coffin for people being worried about inflation will be if the Federal Reserve brings FATE back. Because FATE was something that they originally talked about in 2020, but during COVID, they never really wanted to bring it up. And he actually addresses that here. He says during COVID, FATE was not a really good policy because during COVID, we didn't have a moderate overshoot of inflation. We had a massive regime change of money printing and overshoot of inflation.
fate now, what he's basically saying, could be much more appropriate because we think that the impacts of tariffs are going to be one time, but not all at once. Now, that's another key line right there. That's really interesting because remember, we've been saying, look, if you have tariffs one time and then prices go up, inflation, boops, and then it keeps going. It's like a little heartbeat on the heartbeat monitor. Okay, big deal, no problem. But because of the way Donald Trump has implemented tariffs, it's likely that we kind of have more of like a boop as opposed to like a little, it's announced and it's over. We have this like, 3 to 4 month disaster of tariffs getting announced and pulled back and announced and pulled back. That's going to mean that inflation impact's going to take longer. Now, here's some things you didn't actually hear Powell talk about today, which is huge. Powell did not talk about any signs of persistent inflation. He did not talk about an unanchoring of inflation expectations happening. In fact, he said they will see to it that there is not an unanchoring of inflation expectations. In other words, he's basically saying, hey, we're going to cut, but don't be misled. We will not let inflation expectations unanchor. It's kind of like mommy and daddy coming up to you and going, son, you take this girl to the movies, we'll allow it, but if you mess this up, you're dead. It's kind of like, hey man, we'll give you the cut, but if you mess this up, it's that threat, that implicit threat. That's really what this is. And that's one of the reasons why we're seeing the odds of a rate cut skyrocket now from 72% before the meeting to now over 90%. We're back to an over 90% chance of getting a 25 basis point cut this meeting. And if we get a soft jobs report, we'll get a 50 because Jay Powell's back in fate mode. This is literally the most bullish thing. Like Donald Trump should be really happy. Speaking of Donald Trump says he's going to fire Cook if she doesn't resign. So now you're just going to get more Trump shills at the Fed, and Jay Powell is even shilling rate cuts. So Donald Trump's going to be getting what he wants here one way or another. We did not hear any talk about a persistent services inflation. We didn't hear anything about primary good metals inflation. We didn't hear anything about inflation from tariffs spreading outside of imported goods, which, remember yesterday we talked about how imported goods are 11% of the economy and Goolsby's worried about inflation like escaping that 11% of the sector. Jay Powell said none of that. He had no concerns whatsoever about that. So we didn't have the inflation surging. We didn't have this section. The only reason we even got a hint of a potential rate hike, and I want to be crystal clear about this, okay? So you know what? Let's get really close on the camera here, okay? I'm ready for my close-up. The only reason Jerome Powell said we would potentially get a rate hike is in the event that there is a wage price spiral. Or in other words, when wages start pushing up prices, and then because prices are up, people demand higher wages, and you get the stair-stepping that you got during COVID. Let me just be clear. Powell says that's the only way we're going to preemptively hike. It ain't gonna happen. With artificial intelligence and a slowdown in the jobs market, there is no wage price spiral. It is the most bullish thing you could hear from Powell. I mean, yesterday, I said I just want you to know this. On Monday morning, I said to course members in the Alpha Report, I will buy a stock on Thursday because I think we're going to have a crappy week going into the meeting. I'm going to buy it on Thursday because we'll probably rebound. I bought the stock yesterday. I actually did exactly what I said I was going to do. I pulled the trigger on that stock yesterday, and that stock is the first of 10 that I am calling my 10 stocks to buy and hold for the next decade list. That stock's up like 7% right now. It's booming. It was even recovering after I bought it yesterday. But we'll have 9 more stocks like that in the Alpha Report. So if you want to be a part of that and see that list and see my perspective, doesn't mean you have to copy it. It's just to give you perspective on where I see the economy heading. I'm not always right, but I do my best, so check it out over at meetkevin.com. You pay once, you get lifetime access, and it's a tax write-off, and the coupon expires today because it's J-Hole after a while. But again, we're not going to have preemptive hikes because of a wage price spiral, because there's not going to be a wage price spiral. How could you have a wage price spiral in a world of artificial intelligence? There's no freaking way. It's not going to happen. So, artificial intelligence is going to depress the odds of a wage price spiral. So no preemptive hikes. We're going down, baby. Rates are going down. This is bullish. Bullish stock market, unless, of course, the labor market rolls over, right? Like, if rates come down because we're normalizing, bullish stocks, bullish real estate. If rates come down because we get another terrible SH19 jobs report next month and we get a 50 basis point cut, then the stock market could ironically go bearish because it gets nervous, and real estate booms because, rates are going to come down really fast. As expected, we got no mention of Lisa Cook. This is not a surprise. Jackson Hole is not the opportunity for Powell to respond to reporters or tell you some bull crap about, the renovation or some bull crap about, this Lisa Cook stuff. He doesn't care about this stuff. Like, this doesn't matter. No mention of successor. Yeah, that didn't matter either. Did we get bingo yet? No, because we didn't get anything on this row or column, so that makes it a little harder. We didn't even get talk about central bank independence or data dependence. Okay, let me see what else we got, because we got the framework set up, and this is pretty key. So, upside risk to inflation, downside risk to employment, reasonable base case. This was huge. It's a reasonable base case that tariff inflation will be short-lived. I think he says short-lived, which I just feel like is dirty, like wrong. Anyway, we cannot allow one-time price changes to lead to ongoing inflation, but we think these tariffs will be one-time. They just won't occur at one time. So they'll be buttered out, but they'll be one time. It's just going to be a prolonged adjustment. And then again, he highlights how bad the labor market just got. There's a little bit, okay? I know this overall sounds very bullish. There's a little bit of recession fear in this. I'm not trying to be a bear. I got no puts, I promise. I got no puts, okay? I'm allocated to bullish. For Jerome Powell to flip this hard on, last meeting, he's like, hey guys, you should be grateful we're not hiking. Okay, that was Jay Powell. You should be grateful we're not hiking. This meeting, guys, that was a much larger decline in the labor market. We're going to be cutting. The only way we're ever going to raise rates is something that's not going to happen. And when it comes to inflation, we'll just go back to averaging it, boys and girls. Please don't go into a recession. That's kind of what you just got with Jay Powell, right? That's crazy. So basically, the September meeting is live-ish. We basically just confirmed a 25 basis point cut. But also, you got to focus on this talk about the effective lower bound. This was confusing for a lot of people. This is basically when we're at zero rates. Jay Powell doesn't really want to be at zero rates. How do you avoid going to zero rates? You avoid going to zero by avoiding going into a recession. How do you avoid going into a recession? By cutting rates now to get ahead of the slowdown in the labor market, while at the same time calling tariff inflation transitory. He didn't use the word transitory, but he basically said tariff effects are going to be one time over a more prolonged period of time. Like the heartbeat analogy I gave you. Really critical. Okay? Then we're going to look back to 2012 for the timing policy. Now, this was really interesting as well. When we're in periods where inflation and jobs are at tension, Jerome Powell says we're going to look at the time it would take to return them. Well, what he's basically saying in here is we're going to be patient on inflation because we know it's going to take a prolonged period of time to get back to the 2% trend because tariffs took a long period of time to be applied. This is basically, again, a way of saying we're going to call tariff inflation transitory and we're just not going to worry about it right now. We're going to worry about rescuing the jobs market. So that will maintain bullishness in the stock market up until markets get nervous about the labor market. And that actually is where there are ways you could position yourself to be bullish the stock market and also bullish recession. specifically real estate. You know, I mean, that's a spoiler alert. I don't want to mention like exact tickers right here. We do a lot of that in the Alpha report, and we do our fundamentals because I don't like just mentioning tickers because it goes with fundamental analysis as well. But anyway, if you want that fundamental analysis, remember, coupon code JHOLE expires today. A tax write-off for joining, confirm that with your CPA. You get all 8 courses. I just want to give you a quick heads up. Not only do we have new lectures coming in stocks and psychology of money this year, we also have new lectures coming in the do-it-yourself property management and rental renovations course. That's because design trends change. So like you might join for the Alpha report you get every single day or the course member live streams, and then you're like, oh, I'm renovating a property. What's Kevin's renovation checklist? Well, design trends change, and I'm working with Lauren on updating that list right now because we're doing renovations. And so you're all gonna get our cheat sheet, which is what we use for House Hack too. You know, social media and YouTube course, how to get stuff done faster with AI, Trumponomics, the tax benefit play. Big new lectures coming soon, so you could still implement these via the Big Beautiful Bill. These are huge. You get all of this in one membership. You even get the Wealth Plan Library, which is where you get 7 actual financial advice meetings with clients that are sort of recorded, like the solutions for them recorded. And it's awesome. You pay one membership and you're in. So use coupon code JHOLE. But overall, this is, like I said, bullish until it's not. And that's not to play both sides. It's simply to say it's bullish until the jobs market really gets destroyed. And then really only real estate is going to be the big winner there, right? So shout out to those of you who just joined. Maro Srinivasa. I'm really sorry I butchered that. That's a cool name. Srinivasa. I'll have to work on that one. Thanks for joining. Jirik. Thanks for joining. Edward, Shaw, Jim, Tariq, Christopher, Tate, Gabriel, all those of you within like the last 40 minutes here, by the way. Jason, Gregory, Lindell. My goal is not to let you down and to do great work for you every single day. I appreciate y'all. That's Jackson Hole. It's a big day. Thank you for sharing it with me. And folks, honestly, go drink a delicious morning coffee, because I think overall this is exactly what we want. This is Jay Powell not making a mistake. This is Jay Powell realizing, oh my gosh, I might actually be too late. So let's freaking go. Thank goodness. Best case scenario for the Fed here. We'll see you in the next stream, folks. Goodbye, everyone.